And Esau hated Yaakov because of the blessing with which his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, the days of mourning for my father draw near. Then I'm going to kill my brother Yaakov. And the words of Esau, her older son, were reported to Rivkah. And she sent and called Yaakov, her younger son, and said to him, see, your brother Esau comforts himself concerning you to kill you. And now, my son, listen to my voice. Rise and flee to my brother Laban in Haran. Stay with him a few days until your brother's wrath turns away, until your brother's displeasure turns away from you and he forgets what you have done to him. And I shall send and bring you from there. Why should I be bereaved of you both in one day? And of course we know that this is not what Rivkah does. Yaakov's there for an extended period of time, and by the time he gets back, his mother's actually dead. Rivkah said to Yitzchak, I am disgusted with my life because of the daughters of Cheth. If Yaakov takes a wife from the daughters of Cheth, like those who are the daughters of the land, what is my life to me? And it kind of fits in better to me anyway, the idea that they were contending with Isaac and Rebekah. So Yitzchak sent Yaakov away, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban, son of Bethuel the Aramean, the brother of Rivkah, the mother of Yaakov and Esau. In Genesis 35, verse 3, we see that this period of time where Yaakov is away from home, where he is fleeing from his brother Esau, This is how it's described. It says, let us arise and go up to Bethel, and let me make an altar to El, who answered me in the day of my distress, and has been with me in the way which I have gone. Okay, and the word that's used there is Sarah. This is relevant because people will probably be familiar with a phrase of Jacob's trouble. And people think that it's the end times, that's the time of Jacob's trouble. But it turns out to not be the case. The time of Jacob's trouble is actually when Israel and Judah are exiled from the land. Another time of Jacob's trouble when Jacob was exiled because of his sin. Okay, so when Jacob is exiled, Israel and Judah, because of their sin, that's called the time of Jacob's trouble. It's mentioned in Jeremiah 30. It says, the word that came to Yirmiyahu from Yehovah, saying, thus spoke Yehovah Elohim of Israel, saying, write in a book for yourself all the words that I've spoken to you. For look, the days are coming, declares Yehovah, when I shall turn back the captivity of my people, Yisrael, and Yehudah, declares Yehovah, and I shall bring them back to the land that I gave to their fathers, and let them possess it. Okay, so what he's talking about is this period of time. Israel, Judah are scattered, and he says, look, there's going to come a time when I'm going to bring them back. These are the words Yehovah spoke concerning Yisrael and Yehudah. For this is what Yehovah said, we have heard the voice of trembling, of fear, and not of peace. Ask now and see if a man is giving birth. Why do I see every man with his hands on his loins like a woman in labor, and all faces turn pale? And I think this is where people get the idea that it's the end times, because the end times are described as the birth pangs, aren't they? This is different though. This is talking about a man holding onto his loins like a woman giving birth. This is a man who is in pain. This is what this period of time when Israel and Judah are exiled from the land is like. Okay? Oh, for great is that day, there is none like it, and it is the time of Yaakov's Sarah, Jacob's trouble. But he shall be saved out of it. And what the rest of Jeremiah 30 and 31 are about is how Jacob is going to be saved out of the time of Jacob's trouble when they're exiled, what it's going to be like for them, and what it's ultimately going to end in. And then it says, and it shall be in that day, declares Yehovah Zevaot, that I break his yoke from off your neck, and tear off your bonds, and strangers no more lay service upon him. Which seems so strange. It's phrased so strange, isn't it? It's talking about Jacob. It's talking about what happens to Jacob, and he goes on and says that, they'll serve Yehovah. But it's got that phrase in it, that I break his yoke from off your neck. Well, who's it talking to? It's talking to Jacob. So whose yoke is it talking about breaking off his neck? I break his yoke from off your neck. And I used to think that it was a fulfillment of this. It shall be when you grow restless that you shall break his yoke from off your neck. It's Yehovah saying, I'll break his yoke off your neck. It's Jacob's yoke that's been broken off Esau's neck when Jacob leaves the land. That's not actually the case. If you read it in the Septuagint, it says, in that day, said the Lord, I will break the yoke off their neck, which makes perfect sense in the context of what's being spoken of. They're in captivity. And he says, when I rescue them, I'll break the yoke from off their neck, will burst their bonds, and they shall no longer serve strangers. They shall serve Yehovah their Elohim, and David their king, whom I raise up for them. So it makes perfect sense. And now what we're going to read is how Yehovah does this, what it's going to be like for them, and how Yehovah is going to rescue them, and therefore us. And you do not fear, O Yaakov, my servant, declares Yehovah, nor be discouraged, O Israel, for look, I'm saving you from afar, and your seed from the land of their captivity. And Yaakov shall return and have rest, and be at ease with no one to trouble him. Just like when Yaakov comes back from Laban's house. Okay, after he meets Esau, he's at peace and he has no one to trouble him. For I am with you, declares Yehovah, to save you, though I make a complete end of all Gentiles where I have scattered you. Yet I do not make a complete end of you, but I shall reprove you in judgment, and by no means leave you unpunished, because this period of time that we're in at the moment is a punishment. We've been scattered around the world. We are scattered around the world. Israel was scattered, which has left us scattered around the world. It's a period where we are to appreciate that Yehovah has turned his face from Israel, and it's to be a bad period of time. It says, for thus said Yehovah, your breach is incurable, your wound is grievous, no one pleads your cause to bind up, there is no healing medicines for you. All those loving you have forgotten you, they do not seek you, for I smote you as an enemy smites with cruel chastisement, because your iniquity is great, your sins have increased. That's not talking about our personal sin, although all of us have sinned personally. It's talking about Jacob. Jacob's sin increased to a ridiculous point where they were then kicked out of the land. Why do you cry about your breach? Your pain is incurable because of your many iniquities, because your sins have increased. I have done this to you. And this is talking spiritually, but also during this time, the diseases of Egypt are brought back on his people. And reading this, it made me think of Ols. It made me think about my own situation with MS. It made me think of the situation with Jamie Bauer, what's going on. With all these things during this period of time where people are experiencing the consequences of the curse, experiencing the consequences of what it is to live in the world and not have Yehovah close to us, not have him dwelling in his dwelling place. Because of your many iniquities, because your sins have increased, they have done this to you. However, all those who devour you shall be devoured, and all your adversaries, every one of them shall go into captivity. And those who exploit you shall be exploited, and all who prey upon you, I shall make a prey. So this time's going to be bad. However, for I restore health to you and heal you of your wounds, declares Yehovah. For they have called you an outcast, saying, this is Sion, no one is seeking her. Deuteronomy 28 describes this time. It says, it shall be that as Yehovah rejoiced over you to do you good and increase you, so Yehovah does rejoice over you to destroy you and lay you waste, and you shall be plucked from off the land which you go to possess. This is the ultimate end of all these curses which come upon his people. It says that's going to be it. I'm going to rejoice over you to remove you from the land and put you in this position. Yehovah shall scatter you among all peoples from one end of the earth to the other. There you shall serve other gods which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. And among those nations you are to find no rest, nor have a resting place for the sole of your foot. But there Yehovah shall give you a trembling heart, failing eyes, and sorrow of soul. And your life shall be hanging in suspense before you, and you shall fear day and night, and not be certain of your life. In the morning you say, oh, that it were evening. Evening you say, oh, that it were morning, because of the fear of your heart with which you fear, and because of the sight which your eyes see. Okay, so this is how this period of time is to be for us. But Yehovah, even when he's saying all this to his people, he's saying, but fear not, because I'm with you, and I'm going to heal you, and I'm going to restore you. Deuteronomy 4 says, and Yehovah shall scatter you among the peoples, and you shall be left few in number among the Gentiles where Yehovah drives you. And there you shall serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see, nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. But from there you shall seek Yehovah your Elohim, and shall find when you search for him with all your heart and with all your soul. In your distress, that word is zar. It's the adjective form of which zara is the noun form. It's the same word, in other words. When all these words shall come upon you in the latter days, then you shall return to Yehovah your Elohim and shall obey his voice during this time of Jacob's trouble, which we're in at the moment. For Yehovah your Elohim is a compassionate Ale. He does not forsake you, nor destroy you, nor forget the covenant of your fathers, which he swore to them. Deuteronomy 31 says, and Yehovah said to Moshe, see, you're about to sleep with your fathers, and this people shall rise and whore after the gods of the strangers of the land, into the midst of which they shall enter, and forsake me, and break my covenant, which I have made with them. Then my displeasure shall burn against them in that day, and I shall forsake them and hide my face from them, and they shall be consumed, and many evils and zara shall come upon them, and it shall be said in that day, is it not because our Elohim is not in our midst that these evils have come upon us? And I shall certainly hide my face in that day because of the evil which they have done. Okay, so he's hiding his face in this day, the day when we say it's because he's not in our midst because of the evil which they've done. It's like a beginning of a chiasm that I've not explored. Okay, when he says it's because of the evil which they've done. I will hide my face in that day because the evil that they've done, for they shall turn to other gods. Now write down this song for yourself and teach it to the children of Israel. Put it in their mouths so that this song is to me for a witness against the children of Israel. So when these times are bad, as they are now, we know why it is that Elohim is not in our midst. And I shall bring them to the land flowing with milk and honey, and of which I swore to their fathers, and they shall eat and be satisfied and be fat. Then they shall turn to other gods and shall serve them, scorn me and break my covenant. And it shall be when many evils and distresses come upon them, that this song shall answer before them as a witness, for it is not to be forgotten in the mouths of their seed. For I know their thoughts which they are forming today, even before I bring them to the land of which I swore to give them. And because of their evil, we are now suffering because of the consequences of the curse, the ultimate curse, scattering them. When many evils and distresses have come upon them, this song will answer for Yehovah. This is the reason. Jeremiah 30 continues. It says, thus said Yehovah, see, I turn back the captivity of Yaakov's tents, and have compassion on his dwelling places, and the city shall be built upon its own mound, and the palace stand on its right place. So even in all of this, when he's saying, listen, it's not going to be good, it's really not going to be good. You are not going to be good, and then it's not going to be good for you. Even in that, there's this reassurance, I will be with you. And out of them shall arise thanksgiving in the voice of those who are laughing, and I shall increase them, and they shall not diminish, and I shall esteem them, and they shall not be small. And his children shall be as before, and his congregation shall be established before me, and I shall punish all who oppress them. And his excellent one shall be from him, and his ruler shall come from among him, and I shall bring him near. He will carave, and he shall approach me, for this is who pledged his heart to approach me. Of course, talking about Yeshua, who is in the heavenly tabernacle. And you shall be my people, and I shall be your Elohim. See, the storm of Yehovah shall go forth in a rage, a whirling storm, it bursts on the head of the wrong. The burning displeasure of Yehovah shall not turn back until he has done and established the purposes of his heart. In the latter days you shall understand it. Jeremiah 31 then tells us how it is that Yeshua is going to do this, how he's going to heal us, how he's going to restore us and bring us back I'll give you the highlights. Verse 1 says, "At that time, declares Yehovah, I shall be the Elohim of all the clans of Israel, and they shall be my people." Verse 4 says, "I'm going to build you again, and you shall be rebuilt, O maiden of Israel. Again, you shall take up your tambourines and go forth in the dances of those who rejoice," which is what he's doing. "For Yehovah shall ransom Yaakov and redeem him from the hand of the one stronger than he. See, the days are coming, declares Yehovah, when I shall make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Yehudah, not like the covenant I made with their fathers in the day when I took them by the hand to lead them out of the land of Mitzrayim, my covenant which they broke, though I was a husband to them, declares Yehovah. For this is the covenant I shall make with the house of Israel after those days, declares Yehovah. I shall put my Torah in their inward parts and write it on their hearts, and I shall be their Elohim, and they shall be my people." So this is how he heals us during the time of Jacob's trouble, when we're all scattered. Israel had been disobedient. We're amongst all the nations. Everything's bad. He makes a new covenant and he rebuilds the maiden of Israel. "In that day there shall be a root of Yeshai standing as a banner to the people. Unto him the Gentiles shall seek, and his rest shall be esteemed." Of course, Yeshua. "And it shall be in that day that Yehovah sets his hand again a second time to recover the remnant of his people who are left from Ashur and from Mitzrayim, from Pathros and from Cush and from Elan, from Shinar, from Hamath and from the islands of the sea. And he shall raise a banner for the nations and gather the outcasts of Israel and assemble the dispersed of Yehudah from the four corners of the earth. And the envy of Ephraim shall turn aside, the adversaries of Yehudah be cut off. Ephraim shall not envy Yehudah, and Yehudah shall not trouble Ephraim. But they shall fly down upon the shoulder of the Philistines towards the west. Together they plunder the people of the east, their hands stretching forth on Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall be subject to them."